This is what I tell people. We don't talk about money, especially culturally. It is not a thing that we discuss. And yet it is the transparency that allows us to learn more. I learned this from a friend of mine.
Hey, peeps, you have entered the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, where I have intentional conversations that raises your awareness, which releases your innate abilities, and leads you to purposeful action. You know there's more to life, and you're worthy of it, and yet you feel stuck. This is your sign. Unstuck yourself with me, Crystal Simmons, certified coach, corporate facilitator, and dope human being. I'll be here every week. Will you? Welcome back to the show, peeps. So before you enjoy this highly informative and real conversation with the Rasheeda Creighton, I wanted to share who this dope woman is, and you'll learn more when you listen to the episode. Rasheeda N. Creighton is an experienced corporate executive turned entrepreneur. She has always taken the road less traveled. And in 2020, after a successful 15-year career at a Fortune 100 company, Rasheeda harnessed her skills and passions into a convergence of business ventures that all work towards a singular path. Basically, creating and holding spaces that connect people, particularly Black and Brown people, to opportunities for growth and wealth building, ultimately leading to a path of financial freedom. She is the co-founder of the JWC Foundation, which is the Jackson Ward Collective that y'all hear me talk about obsessively. It's a nonprofit whose mission is to learn, grow, and own in the Black community. The JWC Foundation is a hub that connects Black business owners of all stages to connect to one another and with partners, service providers, programs, and financial resources to grow their businesses. She also provides budget coaching and money value courses for women, particularly Black women, seeking to destroy the Superwoman Syndrome in their lives by leveraging financial freedom to navigate that path. And y'all, we going heavy with the courses, especially my favorite. I spoke about it before. She's amazing. Rasheeda earned her bachelor's degree in English from Spelman College and holds a Juris Doctor from the University of Michigan Law School. She is an active community leader in Richmond, Virginia. Of the many hats Rasheeda wears, her favorite is being mom to her 3 daughters. Be sure to follow and connect with Rasheeda on budget template layouts that I have included in the show notes. She mentions it in our conversation. You have an easy access to stuff. Boop, nice little click. She's also on social media at Killing Superwoman. How easy is that to remember? And also her private page, which is RN Crieghton. So RN and then CREIGHTON. Her website, I mentioned before as well, is killingsuperwoman.co. Scratch the M. There's no com. It is CO. And there is just all things about money, budget coaching, navigating your relationship with money course. You can also visit RasheedaCreighton.com to learn even more about her. Or if you want to reach out for speaking opportunities, which I highly suggest if you are working in a company that do not show or create a space for Black women who are well educated and knowledgeable about the culture, that comes in and speaks to your team, suggest Rasheeda, send them her link. Now y'all give Rasheeda her flowers by welcoming her to the show. And I hope y'all enjoy my sexy, nasally, can't breathe voice in this intro. You're lucky it's not in the interview. Enjoy. Guys, peeps, homies, I'm so excited. So y'all heard me talk about this woman relentlessly. Relentlessly is a good word, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Welcome back to the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, where I highlight my personal stuck moments and create a safe space for others to share their moments of stuckness as well. And today we're chatting with Rasheeda Creighton. Before we dive into all your dopeness, you got to tell the peeps how little Rasheeda paved the way for the current Rasheeda that sits before me today.
Oh, little Rasheeda was fearless. Little Rasheeda got in trouble a lot for the stuff she would say. Um, so big Rasheeda did have to learn how to manage that. But little Rasheeda has never thought that there was anything she could not do. And in some ways, I think big Rasheeda squashed that for a period of time and has been reconnecting with little Rasheeda.
What was the biggest thing that you would say is little Rasheeda?
I don't know.
I feel like me and little Rasheeda would have been friends.
We probably would have been friends. I mean, she was always aware of all the things, right? But would just kind of be like, okay, that's me. Okay. And I just go and I just do, and I kind of go with the flow. I was not quite as type A-ish as I am today.
What does type A mean to you? What does that look like?
Super structured, super organized, needs a plan, needs a goal. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? I have come to a place where I can function in what I call white space, as long as I know there's an end game. But I don't have to have I don't have to know all the things up front. There was a time where it was like, we are not moving until I know where we're going and all the steps between now and then, right?
Yeah.
I have learned to back off of that. And I learned how to create the steps as I go, which is actually a place I love to be in. But I still need structure. I still need to know the why. What are we doing and why are we doing this? For the purpose of what? And as long as I have that, I am good. My super type A mode is like, I know where we're going, I know what we're doing, and I know all the steps that need to happen. And when I get stressed out, I go there and I go, I need everything. Give me everything, give me all the data, give me all the details. But if I'm not stressed out, I can flow.
Oh, man. So Rasheeda is reading me. That was me probably around when I first met my husband, when we were dating. He was like, he's a couple years younger than me, and he would be in college, like, we're just gonna get together. I'm like, who the fuck gonna be there? What we gonna do? Are we staying here? Are we gonna go to the club? What do I need to wear? Like, he was like, Crystal, I don't know. Like, we just gonna figure it out. I'm like, whoa. So I thank him for creating that release.
Yeah.
Because it is control. It was unconscious control. I didn't know I was controlling. And if someone were to tell me that, or if he was like, you're so controlling, like, he never said that. But if he were to say that, I would have been like, what do you mean? Like, just because I want to know, because I'm curious, because I want the information.
That feels insulting when people are like, you just want to be in control. It's like, first of all,
right?
For
she to put up her finger, wait a minute.
Like, we're not doing all of this. And then your neck start rolling and the attitude comes out. It is like, no, I need to know. I don't want to travel completely blind. I don't.
Yes, I agree with that. And you touched on the point of, there's so many points. And I think the biggest one that stood out for me was why. I always say stay curious. I've never been a huge fan of small talk all the time. Like, I understand if I met you, we don't know each other at all. Like, hey, how are you? Oh, okay. Have you been here before? Blah, blah, blah. But when I'm having small talk with people I've met multiple times, why are we doing this?
Why are we here? It's the
Why?
worst. And it's the worst when it's like some kind of in-person thing.
Yes.
And you're like sharing a meal and you're like, so, okay. Um, how are you?
I don't care about the weather. I don't care about the traffic. Like, and a lot of people think that it's a matter of, well, people don't want to overshare. And I'm like, I'm not asking them, their deepest, darkest secrets. However, are they able to share more about them, of who they are, their thoughts, their desires, their wants, their dreams, something like, so that I'm thankful you share that, where I know the people that I talk to have the same issues or concerns with.
Yeah.
I'm tired of doing the same dry ass conversation of, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Fine is
And
not a
can we
feeling.
talk about fine? Can we talk
Fine is
about
not a
I'm
feeling.
fine? Fine is not a feeling. And also, I'm fine, I'm good are default answers.
Yes.
So how are you really doing? One of my friends from undergrad is on IG as the Ignorant Intellectual,
Mm-hmm.
and they posted recently, it might have been a month ago, it's just ingrained in my brain now. Are you fine or are you Black girl fine? And I
Mm.
was like, oh, that's so good. Because Black girl fine is like, we do all the things. So, I mean, I'm cool. I'm handling it right.
Yes.
Meanwhile, we breaking down.
Yes. And wouldn't have the words to say it. Like, even if I take it back, but we might as well get into it. This is such a beautiful segue. Y'all, I am nervous. I am a tiny bit anxious. I'm a little sad because revisiting this journey of money is a where I'm at now is very beautiful, but where I was prior to, it was dark. So going back to what you were saying, uh not understanding how to label how you're feeling or what you're experiencing is the most stuck place I have ever been. So when I was in my corporate job, making really good money, and when I say good money, because good is still not, it's not describing what it is. I was making almost $70,000 at the age of like 35, 34. That wasn't my goal. I was just promoting. And it got so bad where I'm talking to HR, talking to my boss, talking to my boss's boss about how can we rectify this microaggression,
Mhm.
macroaggression, this isolation, this lack of support, lack of leadership. Meaning, when I started my position, I asked my supervisor, because HR emailed me about a training to do in Williamsburg, which is like 45 minutes away from where I live. My hiring boss said, I don't think you have time to do that.
How?
HR emailed me and said, hey, you're a leader, because I was managing over 70 employees. This might be helpful for you as the chief technologist. My hiring manager says, I don't know if you have the time to attend. That's where it started.
Wow.
And I stayed for almost 2 years with incidents like that, where my employees would show up late. I knew they were habitual late employees. However, I was in this role and I wanted to address it. My hiring boss comes to me and says, if you have enough time to check everybody's timesheet, that means you're not busy enough.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad. It was it was confusing. And when I say isolated, I was like, what is happening? It was like I was in the twilight zone. So I say all that to say, I'm making good money, almost 70,000. I'm looking at other jobs to leave, but in my head, I was like, I can't be making less than 60, maybe 50. So I
Mhm.
started limiting myself. And I ended up leaving my job without a backup steady job. I still had the product based business, but I cut my income down to like $10,000 for the year.
Mhm.
So my husband was the sole provider. Keep in mind, I have always paid my bills by myself. I have lived by myself before me and my husband got together. And I was very proud of that. So to
Mhm.
go from that to one, I have been traumatized and I didn't know it. Coming
Mm,
home crying, feeling like I'm stuck. All I know is radiology. I don't know where else to go. And if y'all have been listening to the podcast, level 1 energy is a feeling of stuck. I can't do anything.
yeah.
You're saying, I need to do this. I got to do that. I have to. It's a stuck place of feeling stagnant. And that's where I was. Opportunities don't flow from that. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. Months had went by and my husband was like, hey, Crystal, have you looked at jobs? I'm like, hey, have you? Like, I'm trying to run this business. So now I'm moving to level 2 of anger, upset, I'm defensive. I didn't know any of this was happening, but he tried his hardest, Rasheeda, to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so just lost.
Yeah.
And my mom has always told me, please save your money. And I was like, for what? Why?
Ah, what am I saving it for?
So it goes all the way back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always ask her, I'm like, why? Emergency. What does that mean? Well, if your car broke down, I'm like, yeah, but how much do you save?
Yep.
When do you stop saving? Like literally, I was stuck for years. So
Yeah.
share with us wherever you want to start
Yeah.
with how you came about navigating your journey with money.
So I created it out of my own experience, right? A lot of times we do things out of our own experiences. And my story is very similar, right? In terms of I was making a lot of money. I literally my net take home pay was 6 figures. It was like
Mm.
120 something
Snap
take
up for
home.
that.
Listen, listen. And I had $200 in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And I like literally had gotten paid. Immediately the bills got paid. At the time I was married, I was sole breadwinner, not primary, sole.
Gotcha.
We had 3 children. So one biological shared with us, and then 2 that are my bonus children and still are. And I'm always very, very clear about that. And so that, people that we are taking care of, and ended up leaving, packing up our youngest and leaving, and with $200 in the bank. And I'm like, where did my money go? Like, and it wasn't just I had taken home this much money. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, right? Credit
Mm.
cards primarily in my name with, high credit limits, but maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
And just not, it wasn't even paycheck to paycheck. Like paycheck to paycheck would have been an improvement. It was paycheck to almost to the next paycheck. So fill in the
Mm.
gap with a credit card and keep going from there. And as I was navigating this new world of now single parent, I wanted to figure out a different way forward. And
Yeah.
so I did what a lot of people do. I took like a Dave Ramsey course, learned a lot, left the stuff that didn't fit.
That's what my husband ended up doing. He was like, oh yeah. And he's like, nah,
Yeah,
just gotta
right.
cut that out. Yeah.
I start with this part, we're gonna leave the other part.
Yes.
Um, and then I've ended up, so I'm a techie, and I was like, I need a tool. And I am
Mm-hmm.
brilliant at some spreadsheets. Oh, I would do some Excel spreadsheets. They'd be so pretty and color coded and budgeted. And I would never look at it again until January. And so that was useless. So I was like, I need something I'm going to use. So I did a whole bunch of research, ended up finding this tool that was actually called You Need a Budget,
Yes.
or YNAB. And that was my game changer. Um, and so I started using that really more as a tracking mechanism, even though that's not the intent of it.
Correct. I just
And
learned that. I just learned that like it's actually in my brain now where I have been expense tracking on paper
right. Yeah,
for probably a year now. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that
that's important.
because it really is like, and now I'm moving into the budget of where do I want my money to go? This is recent, like 2 weeks ago.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm
That's
super
important.
excited.
And like that forward planning part is really important. And so once I started doing that, and to your point about like you should save your money, what we saving for?
Yeah.
And but what I had to figure out was, what do I need? Because I was always on edge. When I was married, I was always on edge. When he decided to leave his really good corporate job to start a business, and it was a little bit sooner than what we had planned, like my stress levels went through the roof. I
What
was
did it
like,
look like when you were stressed?
um, for me, I was just on edge. Like the money was constantly at the forefront. We can't afford to do this. How is this going
Mm,
to look? And I'm always scenario planning. And I can't, and so for me, like, if that's at the forefront of your brain, you can't even have peace to do anything else.
yeah.
And so I did a lot of reflection of like, well, why am I like this? Like, what is it that has happened? And I did what I do in the course, which is I did my own money journey map. And I looked at where I started, what points in my childhood and in my life were key moments that taught me a money lesson. Sometimes it was my own direct money lesson, like running up my first credit card and then having to get a second job that summer to pay it off. Sometimes it was an observation, like my parents are entrepreneurs, which is probably why I always said I never wanted to be an entrepreneur,
Mm,
because I understood that everything didn't always look the same. When I was in college, my mom's business was well established. My dad's business had been established since I was like 5 years old. So my dad, they're both retired. My dad's a CPA, and he's kind of like, I have my set group of clients. That's who I work with year after year. Everything is very predictable for my dad, right? He knows how
ah,
much he was bringing in every year. If people were like, "Oh, is he taking new clients?" I would literally have to call and be like, "Are you taking new clients?" Because he had his set clientele. He had built it,
wow.
and it's very steady. My
Yeah.
mother, on the other hand, does consulting work, so it's ebb and flow. She
Yeah.
could get one contract that's 6 figures one year,
Yeah.
and then she could have no contracts the next year. And
Yeah.
so that's more of that ebb and flow that you see. And they're different, but it also means you got to sell more. You have to manage your money differently.
Yeah.
You have to plan differently.
Yeah.
And so all of those things I saw, and they had an impact on how I view entrepreneurship, because I know it's not all roses, and I've seen those things. I've seen those spikes and I've seen those downtimes. And so that played into how I felt. What I learned is, and I get into it more in the course, as you know,
Yeah.
I think you have to create your money values, because you can go on any website and they're going to tell you you should spend X percentage on your housing, you spend this percentage on your wants, and you should set aside 5 to 10% for savings. That's all well and good.
Yeah.
I'll buy into any of that, because if I don't care as much
Yep.
about household things, I'm not going to spend as much on that. I'm going to spend
Yep.
all my money on experiences. I can tell you that straight up. I was just complaining about this week. I had a meeting with my financial planner, and we were just checking in, and he was like, what do you need from me? And I was like, can you make these flight prices go down? Because my budget and these flights don't like each other, but I'm trying to be gone.
Yeah.
And so like I will put more money to that. There's a book that I love. It's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And
I'm so glad you
are
brought that. I
you
haven't read
watching
the
his
book.
Netflix?
Hell yes.
I
Like
haven't watched it yet. I went to start it yesterday, but I haven't done it yet.
I got chills because of your navigating your journey with money. It was such a gift, y'all. So I'm in the Community Business Academy with the Jackson Ward Collective. 12-week program, and Rasheeda came in and basically taught us that class, and she shared her money journey. And for me and everybody else in the cohort, we're so grateful for you being open, honest, vulnerable, showing your money, your numbers, like being, when I say open, like open.
Yeah.
And it's so important to see a Black woman who's confident to say, yeah, my past is not what I wanted it to be. However, it did create this path, this journey for me to be on the other side.
Yeah.
And so you gifted us this course, which I asked one of my friends recently because she heard me talk about it. I said, how much are you willing to invest in getting or understanding where your money is going? Would you be able to invest? And I told her the amount. I won't share the amount on the podcast because I want people to actually take that next step. Are you
Yep.
curious enough to find out?
Yeah.
Without me saying it, because as soon as I say it, your brain is going to start creating a story that's not beneficial.
No,
So
not at all.
the course. I remember I actually started watching the first video at our friend's house. Me and my husband had just finished working out with his friend and his friend's wife. And they were just talking. I was like, oh, I got access to the course. I could listen now. Started listening, taking notes. And my husband Devon was like, what did you learn? I was like, oh, so she started sharing her money journey, which she already shared in person. So it was helpful to hear it again. And then I'm gonna do mine and blah, blah, blah. The homework's easy, but it's just so welcoming. And you talked about the spreadsheets, you talked about the value. I never thought of the value being placed on what we purchase. Like, I got the idea, but to actually do it felt amazing because I looked at mine, Rasheeda. Mine is in line with, I'm happy I can actually pay my bills.
Yeah.
I've always paid my bills, but when
Yeah.
I put down, like, no, yeah, I'm glad I could pay it. I'm glad I could pay it. I'm not like, I hate this bill. I'm tired of paying this bill. I don't have that.
That's good.
I was so excited and proud of it because I know I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago. I do know
Yeah.
that. I know where I was when that happened. So thank you for creating that. Got my husband excited because he's always been on it. Just like you talked about the guy Ramit that has the Netflix special. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I want to watch it. And then I asked my husband. He was like, yeah, I'll watch it with you. He was always excited. I was always scared and nervous.
Wow.
When we first got together, I told him we should be saving. And y'all know shitting is shitting on yourself. But I'm like, we should be saving. We should be saving. I was just repeating what my mom told me.
Yep.
And neither one of us had the tools, but he had the wherewithal to actually go research because he loves doing that and finding a way. And he tried to trickle it down, and then he learned he had to take some pieces down, smaller bites for me. I'm just so thankful that you have reintroduced and ignited my curiosity of money and taking control. Ugh, it's not
I
enough
love
words.
this. I
Not enough
love this.
words.
This brings me so much joy because it's so funny. Like when I first put the course out, I had like one price point and then I changed it at the end of the year because it wasn't about the money. It's about I want people to have the information. And I think it's really important. But in order to plan out budgeting is just a spending plan. We got to stop being scared of it. It's
Yes.
just a spending plan. But in order to create a spending plan, yeah, you need to know your bills and stuff, right? Basics. But you actually have to understand what drives you. So
Yes.
for me, it's not just that I can pay this month's bills. For me, it's also that I have to know that next month's bills are also taken care of before the end of the month and preferably before the middle of the month. If I know that, I'm actually cool on pretty much everything else. Everything else is easy for me. I
Ooh.
need to know that, and I need to know that if an emergency comes, I'm prepared for it. But let's talk about that because we talk about emergency savings. It is my pet peeve because I'm like, I ask all my clients, what are you saving for? And they'll be like, I don't know. I just have a savings account. Okay. And then I show them mine. And my budget has a line item for automobile repairs. This is above and beyond like oil maintenance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I decided $1,000 felt like it would cover most unexpected car things. So I try to keep $1,000 there. All of my insurance deductibles, I have line items for those. You know what they are. You just look at your insurance policy. So when somebody hit my car, you heard me tell this story before,
Yeah.
but when somebody hit my car in the middle of my parked car in the middle of the night, I still have feelings about it. I'm gonna get over it eventually, and totaled it. I already had the $1,000 car insurance deductible sitting in the account. So when I called Geico and they were like, you have a deductible, I'm like, okay, cool.
Can
Like,
we pause there? Like, I remember this story and I told my husband this story. little Crystal is creeping up and it's like, but how long do you keep it there? How long do you keep it there? What do you think that is? That is because I know people understand the importance of saving it, but what is that feeling of, but why is it just sitting over there by itself? Like,
It's the because we are programmed to think money and money does flow, right? Money flows in and out.
ah,
But what you're essentially doing is the money's in a holding pattern until it needs to be utilized. And with these high end money market accounts now and these interest rates, like all of my savings, because of how I use YNAB, all of my savings are in a single account. I just got my bank statement yesterday. I earned $84 in interest this month.
come
Free
on.
money. Because all of it is in a single account. Because the more money that's in a single account, guess what? The more interest you're getting. And so I think sometimes we're like, oh, I'm supposed to send this money. It's supposed to be in and out. It's why I can't keep cash. Do not give me cash. I cannot tell you what I do with cash. It'll be gone. I don't know what I spend it on. But I can track. I use my card
Mm,
exclusively. I use my credit cards exclusively and I just pay them off every month. But I can track what I did with that. I can tell you exactly what I spent it with. But these savings that we have, so I have 3 months of my basic household expenses sitting in my account. It's just sitting
before,
there
how did you calculate that number to know this amount will cover 3 months of everything? Like, how did you get to that point?
using my budget tool. I literally just, it has a report and I can go and look and say, this is how much you spent in January and February. And there are spikes, right?
Gotcha.
I know exactly where the spikes are and I can kind of go, okay, that was an anomaly. But I just use the tool and pull that up and I go, okay, I need roughly about $5,000 a month. And that's a fully in budget. I also can filter that out and say, what does a bare bones look like?
Gotcha.
That money is for, I don't have any income coming in.
Gotcha.
It gives me some extra runway. I used to want to do 6 months. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine. You know what he told me? He was like, how much you got across your credit lines? I was like, I don't know, 75,000 to 100,000, like across my credit cards.
Yeah.
And he was like, do you carry balance? I said, no, I don't ever carry balance. He's like, that's money you could utilize if you really needed to get there. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's good. And so
Yeah.
I pulled back my need to set cash aside.
And not having that need to pull more cash aside, what did that provide you
It let me put
emotionally?
that cash somewhere else. So that was my satisfaction because I'm always going to spend some things. Like I'm never going to deprive myself. You are never going to have me being like, so we ate ramen noodles for 6 months.
Yeah.
No, we went to dinner, we cooked, we did all
Yeah.
the things. But it doesn't feel good when you're like, I'm still trying to hit this goal. I still got to hit this number and I can't put stuff elsewhere, right? Like I've
Yeah.
got a ton of travel this year. I want to be able to put money towards travel, but I also want to buy a house in a couple years. And so I'm putting money towards that. And I want to buy a house that I need to renovate. So like because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Part of that is I will never buy another house without 20% down. And I want to cash flow renovations. My initial goal was have all the cash for the renovations before you move in. Aha moment this week was, ma'am, you can renovate as you go. You don't have to have everything at one time, which removed the pressure of that's a
Yeah.
lot of money to have in place in the
That's
next two
exactly what I was thinking. I was like,
years.
how do you do that?
Child, I was stressing my own self out unnecessarily. And so I was like, okay, dependent, like I'll have a small pool of cash and depending on what needs to be done, like whatever high priority needs to be done before I move in that house, that's what will get done first. Everything else, we will just slowly do it. And it'll take, it might take a little time, but the goal is like, this is the house, right?
Yeah.
And so you just sort of, you build on those things. But there is literally nothing that can come up for me financially that would like cause an issue. So much so that even I have an unexpected travel budget. I keep $3,000 in it at all time. It is for, I did it because I have one set of grandparents. And at the time that I said it, I mean, they're in their 90s. My
Yeah.
grandmother passed away in November. It was easy to get on the plane and get me and all three kids on a plane to go to memorial service because that money
Wow.
was sitting in the account. That
Wow.
money was waiting to be utilized and it was time to utilize it. And then once I spent it, I started focusing. I wasn't putting money towards the down payment. I put money towards replenishing
Gotcha.
that
Because that
account.
actually occurred.
It
And you,
occurred. And
yeah.
so now I need to stock it back up. Right. And so that's what sits there. Or when I still owned a house, I would have 1% of the house value set
Hmm.
aside. That's for all them repairs. You need to replace a hot water heater. You need to replace an appliance, like whatever those things are. You have that waiting to be utilized. And then when it gets used, it's like, that's exactly what it was here for.
I love that because your story makes it tangible. Like you are a real person. I see you in real life. Like
Yep.
people can see you. From today, how long have you been on this journey?
Since, oh gosh, I think it's been 6 years.
Thank you for
It's been
that.
6 or 7 years. And it hasn't been, let me tell you something. The first 3 years were like, can you just remember to write down that you went to the grocery store, ma'am?
I appreciate that.
Like it wasn't this overnight thing. And I coach people on how to set up their YNAB budgets. And they're like, I gotta do all things. I'm like, can you
So,
just enter your transactions?
um, full transparency, YNAB has I have been on the ebb and flow. I have been on a roller coaster. I have been on this is amazing to F this shit. To like I'm like so me and my husband started using YNAB 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay.
And it was after I got paid. I was tracking my expenses on paper. And then I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna put it in. And then it was like just trying to use the app, trying to figure it out. It is very complex. And maybe it might be a little bit too much for people who are just starting
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm gonna wait until I get paid and I have a clean slate, which was Friday. So that was yesterday for the people who are listening. And I was like, got my money. This is how much it is. And then it just got weird. And it was like, you need to do this. And then I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this at all. And I actually wasn't spending any money, Rasheeda, because I was like, I don't know how to use it.
You linked all your accounts, didn't you?
Yes.
That's it.
And that's why I was
So
like,
I'm gonna give you my freebie to you and everybody that's listening.
oh,
Um, and this is how I coach my clients through it. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is. The very first thing to do is to figure out how to set up your budget template. Because I have yet to have a client. Oh no, I have one client right now who actually uses the default template. Nobody else does.
yeah.
Um, so set it up in a way that makes sense for you. I can send you a one pager that you can put in show notes, a
Okay.
link. Set it up in a way that makes sense for you. The next thing to do is to set targets. So there is every category that you set up you can set up targets. The targets tell you how much money you will need. You are telling the target, you've been tracking your expenses. So
Yep.
let's say, how much do you need for groceries a week?
We're pretty light on that. Actually probably like 100.
Okay. When do you go grocery shopping?
We don't have a set day.
Okay. Here's what I would do. I would pick a date by which you would have gone grocery shopping. And I would set that as a weekly target for groceries and say, I need $100 by Sunday. I'm just making up a day.
Yeah.
You need $100 by Sunday for groceries every week. And that, and like groceries and gas, you do as a weekly target, because if it's 5 Sundays in the month, YNAB's going to tell you, you need $500 this month, not 400. So you
Gotcha.
don't run out of grocery money in a 5 Sunday month.
Yeah.
So you set up your targets across the board. Most of them are going to be monthly targets, but you're going to set up your targets. You do all of this before you link your accounts. So unlink it. Do all this before you link your accounts. Set all of these things up. Then you link your account. When you link your account, the first thing you want to do is go in and make sure the amount that YNAB is showing as your starting balance matches the posted balance as of the night before, because that's everything that's cleared.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
And then you're going to go in and add any pending transactions, any transactions you know you have done, but haven't actually cleared yet.
Yeah.
That way, you know your money is right. Then you're going to go back to your budget page, and you're going to have a bunch of categories that are overspent because you added in pending transactions. You
Gotcha.
go in and you assign money from ready to assign to those
Mm-hmm.
categories. And then the top at the green where it says ready to assign is going to give you the remaining money that's in your account. And then you can start giving it jobs. And the easiest thing to do is to go down the list, figure out what things, the theme of this is, what does this money need to do before any more money comes in? That's how you prioritize it.
Um,
What do I need this money to do before any more money comes in? And so you might want to, put due dates or whatever, but the targets will let you do that. And then you just go down the list and you start assigning money to the categories so that you know, hey, everything that's going to come up between now and when I get more money in is covered.
so because you have all of your accounts, well, your savings, like they're all lumped into one, do you have them under the same category so that the
I have a
total equals?
category called
Okay.
savings. Yeah. And then
And
they're
it's
all
just
under
like,
there. Yep.
got you. Okay. Because that's why I was getting confused at. I was like, do I need to separate it? Do I need to have multiple accounts? Like, how do I do this?
You can just have it. So I have one savings account, and then the total that's assigned in the categories under it matches the total of the balance on my savings account.
And you have yours linked.
I have
Okay.
everything linked. I manually enter. So when I'm checking out at the grocery store and I'm waiting for my receipt, I open up the app and I go ahead and enter
Put
it
in the
in real
transaction.
quick. And then when it clears, it just links.
I was gonna because I cleared out everything today. I just started. It was like you want to like a button. You want to start from
You did
scratch. I
fresh
was like,
start.
yeah. I was like, yes. Like so, I'm now
Yes.
just zero, zero, zero,
Yes.
zero, zero.
Yes.
Because I really want to understand, and this is the big point where people like read your energy. Like my thought was straight to F this. I don't want to do this. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I feel like I'm not understanding it. I feel like I'm getting confused. So I went back and then I looked at other apps. They're a little bit too easy, if that makes any sense. So it's a trial and error and
It
recognizing,
is.
like you were saying, like, and thank you for sharing 6 7 years, because in my head I'm like, all right, if I keep doing this I should be good, like
It's gonna
after a couple
take you a
months.
minute. Let me tell you something. My first couple years, I probably fresh started a good 10, 15 times. Like,
Oh nice,
I
thank you
was
for
like,
sharing that.
I don't know about that. And then I have done it over time. When I moved, when I decided I didn't want to own property anymore and I sold my house, I did an entirely new budget. I was like, try everything different now. You don't
Mm.
have to change it year to year. It rolls over just like a month rolls over. But if something major has changed in your priorities or your situation, it's a great time to be like, I think I want to do something different with the budget, and look at things differently. I've also adjusted, like I'll change categories, I move stuff around. My older girls are grown, like one is for real grown now, and the other one's 18. So there's a difference between for real gone and 18. But like their needs have changed. They still need support, but it looks different. And so their
Yeah.
line items in the budget look different than their little sisters who's in third grade. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What are some things that you actually speak with your clients about that a lot of people don't realize?
Yeah. I really the thing when people do budgets, I tell every client this, they just list out their bills. And then I go, you gonna buy clothes? Do your kids need clothes? Are you going anywhere? Do you want to go out to eat? What about hair? I work with a lot of women clients, which is my preference in general, but hair, nails,
Yeah.
massages, what do you do to take care of yourself? Um, what other things do you want to go to concerts? And they're like, oh, I forgot about that. So, and initially, I'll be honest, initially it's overwhelming because you list it all out
Yes.
and you're like, I'm never going to be able to put money towards that. But you will. It's
Yep.
a small step. And even if it's, I'm going to just throw $5 over here every month, right? Or every week, I'm just going to throw $5 over to this account. You can actually set up a target that's called I think it's called monthly funding or monthly savings. And it's just no matter what, I'm always going to put this amount of money to the side for this category. And that's a really great starting point, right? So that you don't get caught up in, I got to have this big chunk of money up front. You
Yeah.
just put a little to the side. I know it feels intimidating, but if all you do is pay your bills, you are going to be
Yeah.
miserable.
Yeah. And you probably already are. And that's so telling because we always prioritize other things and other people. We tend to do that
Yeah.
and we don't recognize it. We're just not conscious of it. So
Yeah.
you even sitting down with them, like, hey, you're raising their awareness of you do your hair, you get your nails done, any of that. Oh shit, I do. They know they do. However, you just raise their awareness of, oh, I am really just laser focused on these bills. And what about the human part?
Yeah.
What about you? So
Yeah. You got
that's
to take
highly
care of
important.
yourself. You got to take care of yourself. You got to have time. Even as, I mean, there were points in this journey where it was like, I can go out to eat once a month. So I'm gonna put $100 to the side for me to like go out to eat, right?
Yes.
For real, for real.
Yes. Yeah.
Or and that changes over time. Now, like Sundays, we eat out on Sundays. That's our thing. Like we don't, that's our Sunday dinner. Our Sunday
Yeah.
dinner is we eat out. And so like it evolves over time and your priorities change. So there
Yeah.
was a period of time that I personally prioritized. I like to buy technology. I like electronics. I like the new thing, right? I'm an early
Mm-hmm.
adopter. I have found that I don't spend money like that. I am apparently traveling to every concert that is coming out this year, and I need these flights to go down. But like, I'm so big on experiences for myself, for my children,
Yeah.
that like that's where all my money is falling under the travel budget right about now. And I put all expenses tied to a specific trip into that. And so that's now the thing. And that evolves over time. And it's actually really cool to see.
It
The other thing
is.
is subscriptions. Subscriptions get every
Mm.
single one of my clients because they will inevitably be like, I didn't even know I was paying for that.
My husband told me the other day, because I would get a massage here. My friend Whitney would come and do it. I love having at home
That's
massages.
amazing.
Like you just put your robe back on or put whatever on, just lay down, like just hydrate. It is so nice. But he didn't realize he was still being charged for his subscription at, I think he was going to Hand and Stone. I
Mhm.
was like, what, babe? And he was like, no, I canceled it though. But you don't know until you start. It's okay to be nervous, but and because both can happen. You could be nervous and be curious about just digging and being like, oh wait. Like for example, I was watching P Valley.
Mhm.
I didn't have what show does it come on? I mean, what network?
Is that stars? That's
It is
stars.
Stars. I didn't have Stars. I got it for that. And Rasheeda, when I tell you it's some F shit, like I actually went to cancel, hit cancel, and I was like, all right, I canceled it. then got charged the next month. I'm like, what is happening? I had to hit cancel like 3 times, like confirm it. I only did it twice. I was like, y'all are some assholes.
Like, let me out.
It's stuff like that where it's like, I have control. You're not gonna stop.
Yeah, every
I could
time.
talk to you about this all day. Is there anything we're missing or that I didn't bring up?
Um, this is what I tell people. We don't talk about money, especially culturally. It is not a thing that we discuss. And yet it is the transparency that allows us to learn more. I learned this from a friend of mine. She's Black, her husband's white, and she was talking about when he got a job that he's now had for a long time, and he took the offer. They went to like their best friend's house, who were white, took the offer, and the friends were like, nope, this is what we do, this is how you
Ooh,
get this. And like they did this whole comparison thing, and his whole package, like game changer. And I was like, you did what? How you do? All right, break that all down for me. And this is a friend who they are very savvy with money. They have broken down for me like how they've structured. We've both set up trusts for our kids and like how they've structured the trust for access based on age and that sharing piece, right?
yeah.
That's why I'm so transparent about it, because if we don't talk about it, you don't know. I
No.
was having a conversation with somebody recently about the new 529 law. So if
Hmm.
you open a 529, as long as it's been open for at least 5 years, if the beneficiary that you named in that account does not need it for school or
Mm.
utilize it for school, it can be converted to a Roth IRA in their
Oh,
name.
wow.
And for those who may not know, a Roth IRA is post-tax money, but it is tax-free on the growth and when you pull the money out. So that is the best position you could do. So I've started
Wow.
throwing money into, because I didn't want to do a 529. I chose to do an investment account for my daughter's college fund. And I've left that money there, but I've started throwing other money that she gets into a 529. By the way, oddly, it's a Utah 529 because they have one of the best 529 plans in the country.
Huh.
You don't have to get one in your state.
Wow.
And so now I'm like, cool, I'm going to put this in up to the max amount of what can be converted, which is 36,000. And when it hits that, I'll stop putting it over there. If she never needs that money, she can slow convert it to, it's like a 5-year process, but she can slow
Wow.
convert it to a Roth IRA. And now you're set up for retirement.
Wow.
Like, but we don't have these conversations because we're scared to talk about it. But talking about it is what gets us free. We talk about generational wealth. What you think you're gonna build it on your own with no
That
information?
part. That part.
We can't do that. And so those are the conversations we have to have. My conversation with my planner this week was, if I do not touch my retirement accounts, the goal is to retire when my daughter when she graduates high school, I'm retiring. And I asked him, I said, which will be before I can pull from my retirement account.
Okay.
And I said, so at 60, what does it look like, just rough calculations, the value of my retirement accounts will be? He told me. I said, okay, so when do I run out of money of those? He's like, if you just do a 4% withdrawal, you can get 20 something $1,000 a year. I was like, okay. And he said, you'll never run out of money. I was like, okay. So how much I need to put in here to make that number a little bit higher?
Yes.
Like, those are the conversations we need to have. But do you know to have those conversations?
And your knowledge and accessibility for us to actually educate ourselves is so easy. It's right. It's so attainable because there are a lot of people who have been that I know of who have been dipping into their 401k.
Oh, I did that too. I had a loan against, when I was married, I had a loan against my 401k that I paid back into it. But like, it was a terrible idea.
It
It was
is
a
so,
terrible
it's
idea.
like, it's you're killing yourself in the end and from the front. Like it's like you're just closing in on yourself. So trust y'all. Like I get it. I not having quote unquote any money. And then my husband's like, we need to save. And me literally be like, how? What am I saving? It starts with being aware of what you have. I didn't realize how much I was able to pay. Like uh one of the statements my mother-in-law made during the time where I wasn't working corporately, I was paying for my lease. And her and my husband were like talking. He was like, yeah, my mom was saying, like, that's impressive. She's able to pay all her bills. Like, I was paying a lease for a car that was like $750 each month.
Wow.
And it never occurred to me, like, of course, it was too much compared to, but I did it. So what else can I do? I was washing my locks and retwisting them. It didn't look as good as my loctician. And I saved money. Like, I still, like, we can do hard things. We're capable
We
of
can
it.
do hard things. And you know what else? And I know I hate to use it because people say it all the time, pay yourself first. But the fastest way to start getting to a place, and I want to challenge us on this. Yes, we should save. And I just walked through the saving. You also need to invest. You do not
Yeah.
grow wealth by interest on savings accounts. And so
Yes.
we need to make investments. And the easiest way to do it, and I'll go back to Ramit's book, right? Set it and
Yeah.
forget it. I
Yeah.
have an automatic $500 that goes into an investment account. It goes into index funds every single month. And sometimes I'm like, what is coming out that's $500? And then I'm like, oh, never mind. Investment account. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it's $50. Maybe it's
Yeah.
$20. Maybe
Mine
it's
is
$10.
$100. Mine's is just 100.
This is good, but you've done it, right?
Yep.
That is actually where you are generating wealth and you're letting your money work for you. This 3-4%, yes, this 4% that these accounts are doing right now is great, but it is not going to compound the way that is. Now we have to play the long game. And you
Yes.
I don't look at those accounts. I don't go in
Nope.
there. Don't do it, especially not now. Just don't do it.
Yes.
Let it ride. Always
Yeah.
remember, this is a long-term strategy. This is the long game. So you set it, you forget it, and you keep moving. But do it up front so that money goes first. And then you're like, this is what's still left
Yeah.
to go through all the other things.
I know we shared a lot, peeps, and I know Rasheeda shared a lot of seeds. I'm now saying seeds to bloom. Shout out to my
I
homie
love
Wanika.
this.
Her business is called My Blooming Mind, and she was just dropping. She kept saying gems, and I was like, "Nah, these are seeds
I
because
love
these are
that.
seeds to grow whatever you wish to grow." I came from a very, very stuck place, and I'm grateful for being curious and courageous to sign up for the Jackson Ward Collective Community Business Academy. I love this experience. I'm getting so much out
Yay.
of it that I'll tell you what really attracted me when y'all say you understand your personal and your business expenses. I was like, ooh, sign me up. Like that was it. I was like, I told my husband, I was like, they said they're gonna help us with our personal and our business expenses. And y'all had other bullet points. That was the only thing I told him.
That's
And I
all
was
you
like, it's
saw.
12 weeks, yes. So I knew I was ready. And then y'all just keep giving and giving and giving. I'm incredibly grateful. And I'll shout it to the rooftop. Whoever is courageous and curious enough, there are people out there. And
Yeah.
even your homie, shout out to her for sharing that story with you to then share with me. Cause now I'm gonna tell everybody this damn story.
Yeah.
We have to be courageous enough to stand in what we know and also be understanding that we deserve that love and information back.
Yeah.
That you don't have to do this on your own. There's so many
You
other
do not.
ways to create, and we got to get out of our heads and really question those things that we were taught growing up. We don't talk about that. That's not, no, we won't tell people
Right.
our business about that. Well, I'm just talking to myself, and all I know is what I know. How far
Yep.
is that going to get you?
It's not going to get you very far. And there's so many great resources out there, right? And resources of people that look like us, which is what I really value. Like Rich and Regular, who I know you saw at the conference last year.
Yeah.
Like Julian and Kirsten, they are just as genuine in person as they are on their, they got YouTube videos,
Yes.
they got
The
blogs, they
podcast.
got podcasts. The book Cashing Out is gold. Like, I mean, there are just so many people that share really good information. And that's how I learned a lot of this stuff. I also have done like some training. So I've
Yeah,
done
yeah, yeah.
accredited financial counseling training and that kind of thing. But a lot of it was just like, I got curious and I was like, I can do this different. And my dad has said to me, like, you've learned so much more than what I knew. My dad, I've taught my parents stuff. I got them on
Oof.
YNAB.
Wow. Shout out to you.
Yeah,
How
yeah. My
does
dad
that
was like, we got to
feel?
figure this out. That it was amazing. My dad was a little bit easier.
Yeah.
My mother, he was like, can you teach your mother how to not spend all the money so we can be retired? So that's really where it started.
Shout
But
out
I
to
mean,
him
they
being
got
open
it.
and honest.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man. Do they have Netflix? Y'all should watch it together as a family.
They do have Netflix. Let me tell you, this is a sidebar, but I gotta tell you this. So growing up, we were allowed to have 2 hours of TV a week. That's it. That
Mm.
included Saturday morning cartoons. So that was a
Oh.
whole thing. My parents be calling us, they'll send it in a group chat. Hey, we just they binge watched Bel Air last season and caught up to this season in 2 days. 2 days.
They're committed. They realize
It's
they
like,
deprived themselves in the past.
I was like, who are you people? Because I feel like all y'all do is watch TV and retire a bit. And they're like, well, we're retired.
Yeah. I love it. Oh my gosh. It's telling my parents. They're like, my dad always calls us Boo. He's like, Boo, y'all seen this movie? Me and your mama watched this movie. I'm like, I'm not, it's too many. Is
They
it
stay
good?
up
What?
crazy late. They'll be up to like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm like, so look, I was knocked out. I don't know what y'all talking about.
They live it. They live it. I loved it. Oh, I don't want this to end.
I know. It's so
And I
good.
thank you. I thank you
It's my
so, so,
pleasure.
so much. Anything else you want to leave the peeps with?
You can find me on killingsuperwoman.co, not .com, .co. All the stuff is there. The class is there. If you want to do one-on-one coaching, that's available too. Y'all gave me some good ideas today. I think I might put a little cheat sheet for YNAB on there. So go check it
Yeah. I'm
out.
excited. You want a real testimony? You want me to kind of look
Oh,
over it?
for
I would
sure.
definitely use it. Seriously, this is just the beginning with you and I. I'm so grateful for you and your co-founders of the Jackson Work Collective for creating the Community Business Academy, because sometimes I get overwhelmed, but this course was felt like an easy in.
Love it.
So thank you for that. I really, really do appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. We are glad to bring it to Richmond. It's actually from a national program out of New
Nice.
Jersey. And so we're really proud to be part of the network and excited to have it in Richmond. So, yay.
Yes, put it on the map.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. Bye.